Hello everybody, this is Christian back from Blue vs. Orange TCG, bringing you an ATP 5 deck profile. That's right, ATP 5 has been out for a few days now. People have been really enjoying the set, it looks like. A lot of people have been getting a lot of games in on the Discords, and I've seen a lot of pretty interesting decks. I want to showcase one of the decks that I've been playing on the Discord, and one that I've really enjoyed playing. It's a kind of an updated ATP 4 deck list with some new ATP 5 cards thrown into it to give it a little bit of extra spice in it, for lack of a better word. As you guys know, that November 6th is the Extra Life One Day event going to be happening. It is the first ATP 5 legal event, so it's going to be a really exciting time. Going to be some really interesting things to see what things kind of branch out into this new metagame that we're in with such a huge set. And just wanted to dive in to this deck profile here. So as you can see, this is an Orion Pax or Optimus Prime Legend Mode character list. So this is a character that I really enjoyed in ATP 4. I know it was pretty popular back then, and I wanted to give kind of my take on the list, as you can build this guy in a whole lot of different ways. I know he's pretty common in orange shells, but he definitely can play very well in blue shells as well, which is what this is in. So diving into the characters here for this ATP 5 Orion Pax list. So we have the Orion Pax here, of course. He is our Legend Mode centerpiece. 592, Focus 1, and then if you begin the game with no Decepticons, and he dies, he rises. And when he arises, he becomes a 6/16/2, and then he has Focus 1, Bold 1, Tough 1, and when you flip an Autobot card while battling, he gets +1 attack and +1 defense. This guy is essentially just a centerpiece beat stick character. He's really interesting because of the untap that you get from him arising is something that a lot of these kind of value-driven beat stick decks don't really have before this guy. He forces you to build your deck in a certain way as well, being forced to play a lot of different Autobot cards. So there's a lot of cards in here that I wouldn't normally play in a list like this, but because of this ability here of getting +1/+1 on his battling, I definitely want to play a lot more Autobot cards. So we're going to move on to the supporting characters. He's pretty self-explanatory. We have Jazz and his stratagem. Here's the thing. This is a Jazz deck. We do run a fair number of blue-blacks, so the Jazz fits very well for the type of deck that we're going to. This is not the only way to run Orion Pax in a blue shell, obviously, but this is just what I wanted to try. Jazz is kind of a weird character in this metagame, especially from ATP 4 onward. Well, even sooner, like ATP 3 and onward, where Jazz, I would say, is not the de facto blue star support character at all anymore. I'd say that title's been kind of gone from him for a while, but he's still like not a character that it's not that he doesn't do anything for your team. With his stratagem, here's the thing, being able to turn all black pips flipped into whites when you're defending. It's still like a really strong ability and really good for decks that even if they're not running any Pierce, it creates it makes your defensive flips even better. Pretty good against a black Pierce list, which I've seen a couple floating around the Discord, so which is what made me want to put this in the main deck. And then you could easily side this out for any type of Autobot sideboard character that you wanted to put in here. I'm not going to go over a side deck this go around, but there's tons of different things that you can put in this slot here, and just like a nice little beat stick character as well. And then our last character is going to be Sea Spray. So Sea Spray is going to be our main flipper. The Legend Mode characters, they don't flip at all, so they don't use your flip for the turn at all. So you get to use one of your smaller support characters. I chose Sea Spray. One for base stats alone, just having a 12 health for 6 stars, like incredible. And then this card, this deck in general, ends up drawing a bunch of cards in during your time playing during the game. And so Sea Spray actually makes you draw cards even faster. With his, Orion Pax, when he arises, you also get to draw 2 cards. I forgot to mention that. So you get to draw 2 cards from there, you get to draw 2 cards from Sea Spray, and then we do have some more draw cards in the deck as well that we're going to be going over. As well, while he's in bot mode, he gets to give the highest starred character +1 attack. So if Orion, so he can give +1 to Optimus Prime here, or if he happens to die and you have these two, he gives both your Jazz and Sea Spray +1 attack because they are both 6-star characters, which is like a really cool interaction. So that's our general lineup right there for characters. And then we do have, with our leftover star card, we have one Heroic Spotlight. But the nice thing about Orion Pax compared to the other 84 Legends is that you can run stratagems with him, which is why we're running these two in the main deck. We're going to go over what I chose for the 2-star starter cards. They are ATP 5 cards, which is kind of what made me... The starter cards alone is actually what made me want to run this deck in the first place, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're going to just put these off to the side over here and go into the battle deck. This is a 41 card main deck. We're going to go over the upgrades first. So first things first, with the upgrades we have our weapons. We have 1 Ion Blaster for Optimus Prime, 2 Energon Axes, 2 Fusion Bores, a Nobles Blaster, and then our obligatory 3 handheld blasters. So the reason why this is a pretty like standard upgrade list for a blue deck, I'd say. We are running the 2 Fusion Bores because we are a Jazz list. I'm usually not super keen on Fusion Bore even in a Jazz list, mainly because like you want weapons that stick around for your characters. But because we have 4 here, I thought it was totally fine to be able to play these as well. These could also be like an Armed Hovercraft or a Sturdy Javelin, just one. You only have 1 ranged character, but it's still like enough to potentially run it if you want to. But most of the time you're going to be wanting your Orion Pax or Optimus Prime to be upgraded with the Ion Blaster for that sweet +2 attack and +1 defense, given that you're a defensive based deck. The 3 handheld blasters, because you want to be able to defend big numbers, are green, and the obligatory 2 axes. This is a pretty standard weapon list. You could swap these 2 out, like I said, for anything else you really want, but otherwise it's pretty standard. All right, put that there. Next up are the armors. So we're gonna start off with the coolest card in the deck, in my opinion. Our star card, double champion chassis. So I do want to go over this card real quick before we get into the rest of the armors. So this is our star card, and this is a card new to ATP 5, and it's a really exciting card in my opinion, and totally worth running the Heroic Spotlight just for this card alone. So what the card says is, first of all, it's a blue-black, so another reason why it triggers off a Jazz really well. It's an armor. You can only play this only if you had Optimus Prime on your starting team. So it can go on any character, but you have to have Optimus Prime on your starting team for this to be able to be played. Up to 2 Champions chassis can fit in 1 Optimus Prime's armor slots. It gives tough 1. When this is scrapped, repair 1 damage from each character on your team, and it gives a static +1 attack and +1 defense. So this card is absolutely incredible. The fact that you could put 2 of these onto an Optimus Prime, so you're able to have over the course of the game, if you're able to get 2 of these onto Optimus Prime, like so, you're looking at a base 8, base 4, base 8 attack, base 4 defense character with tough 3, and is able to get an extra defense when flipping an Autobot card. You're able to just defend for an absolutely astronomical amount of numbers without like secret actions on your side. It's very easy to get to like 10, 11 defense with 2 of these on without a secret action. This card is absolutely incredible. It can go on people other than Prime, but you still want to be mainly putting them on Prime, just because you can stack them like this, and Prime's usually going to be your last character to be standing anyway. But yeah, everything about this card is just icing. I absolutely love this card. You could potentially play other things like Heroic Spotlight as your blue star card, or even like Hands for Artillery if you want like more double blues. This is just the choice that I made when making the deck. And then the rest of our armors, we have 2 Guardian Shell and 1 Bashing Shield. We have the 1 Bashing Shield because we're kind of lacking in greens in the list, and so we are just sticking with this. Otherwise, I'd put like an Adamantium frame or something in the list, which gives a 10-star character Sturdy. Well, actually probably not, because you don't want these, so I'd probably still run the Bashing Shield. And then 2 Guardian Shells. This card's really cool. It's another ATP 5 card. It's common. Blue Pip +1 defense. When you put this on a character, draw 1, and then when this is scrapped from a character, repair 1 damage from that character. So it's pretty easy to, like, in the early game, just play this for free on your Orion Pax to draw a card, and then if you start getting your Champions chassis, you can replace it with the chassis and repair 1 for replacing it. This card's, like, actually, like, one of the low-key, like, a really incredible card in ATP 5 because of that repair 1. So it actually, like, isn't like you don't net anything if you Bashing Shield this, because if they Bashing Shield your Guardian Shell, you lose the +1 defense, but then you heal 1, so it's still like it adds that 1 back into the damage cycle anyway, which is like super cool. So those are those are our armors. We have 5 armors, and then our utilities. Of course, we're running 3 Matrix of Leadership. This card's just incredible. Being the Autobot card, it gives you a +1 attack or defense when you flip it, and it gives you an extra, and it's good for either combat because the orange or blue pip. This card usually ends up kind of just being a double pip, an extra double pips for your Optimus Prime. And you do have 2 leaders in Jazz, so you can stack 2 of these on Optimus Prime and on Jazz to be able to guess for some pretty high Pierce numbers on like your Sea Spray. Overall, it's a fantastic card, pretty standard in Orion Pax list. And then our 1-ofs, 1 point position, 1 Spy Satellite, and 1 Energy Pack. Energy Pack, pretty standard. The Spy Satellite, also pretty standard, even better because it's a black pip with Jazz. And we are, like I said, we're low on greens, so we do want to make sure that we have greens in the list that we can swap for our handheld blasters. And then 1 point position. I was originally on 2 for a little bit, but I found that my utilities were kind of clogged with 6 already. That I often, and once you like put this on Orion Pax, it's good to put on Orion Pax, then you kind of have your Optimus Prime with Brave, and you don't always necessarily want that. There's cases where you actually do want your Optimus Prime to have Brave on him, but for the most part, it's mainly just there for the early game to hopefully be replaced with a Matrix later on, or an Energy Pack, or even a Spy Satellite for that extra +1. But again, and it's being a blue-black, it's good with Jazz, so that is the reason why we run those. Those are all of our upgrades now. We're going to go over the actions. So our action count, we're going to go over the pumps first. Of course, we are pretty much a half leader deck, so we are playing the 3 Valiant effort for Optimus Prime and Jazz being able to get +3, and with Optimus Prime and Orion Pax being in range, you get to do the ping one. Really good. We're playing 2 skillful displays. Normally I wouldn't play skillful display in this list. I'd probably play show mastery. But the deck draws enough cards already, and the fact that this is also part of our the small part of our burn package. Our pumps are also our burn cards for the most part, because when you have a legend mode character on your field, you get to do 2 damage to an enemy that's not in legend or bot mode, so basically alt or combiner mode. That burn actually doesn't come up as much as you think it would, but it's still just good as a generic +2, and it's an Autobot card for Optimus Prime's flip, so it's just kind of free to play. And then 1 Belligerence. This is probably the card that right here needs to probably go up to 2 in the list. This card is absolutely incredible with Orion Pax. Being able to swing for huge numbers, being able to get that +1 attack with an Autobot card. Excuse me. But I only have 1, mainly for space issues right now. We're out of 4-1 card deck. You could just bring this up to 42, and it probably won't be a bad thing. Or you can just try to find space with some of these other actions, probably one of the secret actions or so, to be able to bring that up to 2. But those are our pumps that we're playing. Next up are our secret actions. 2 step forward, 2 end hostilities, 2 display any difficulty, and 2 of a new card, 2 downfall protocol. So end hostilities make sense. It's a blue deck. You tend to want to use this so you don't get hit by belligerents and other rogue orange decks. And especially with November 6th coming up, the metagame's pretty unsolved, so we don't know how much orange is going to be running around. So it's pretty safe to be able to play this at 2. 2 step forward. Step forward is fantastic in this list. I like it a lot more than point position, because when you reveal it, you can give an Autobot Brave for this battle. So you can give your Orion Pax Brave, and it's an Autobot card, so you can get the +1 for Optimus Prime or Orion Pax. So this card's like absolutely incredible. And then once he arises, you can actually use this to give like Jazz Brave if they don't have a Pierce weapon as well, to make the defenses even harder for them to penetrate. 2 dads, generic blue-black, gives you, we do run a fair amount of colors in the list, even though we are mainly still a blue deck, so even if this is still just like a +2, a +2 is a +2, right? If you only flip up blues and blacks. I could see, this card I was originally having at 3, and this would probably still go at 3. I think if the metagame runs more blue than orange, you can probably take out one of these end hostilities, and put in a 3rd dad. But that's just like something that you could potentially do. Still really good at 2. And then a new card here, 2 downfall protocols. So this is a blue-black leader blue pip card secret action that when you play this, when you reveal it, when your opponent plays an upgrade or action from their hand. So it's like the withdrawal protocol. It has a different style of reveal. So you actually get to choose when you get to reveal this when they play something from their hand. And then when it's revealed, you return that card that they just played to its owner's hand, so you get to bounce whatever they played, and then if it's an action, it has no effect. So this can bounce like Belligerence, it can bounce other secret actions to hand if you don't want them, if you don't want to go against another secret action on the next turn. Takes out burn cards. This card's like really incredible. Oh, and then it does have the text of it gives your team +1 defense if you have a legend mode character on your team as well, which is pretty good. One thing to note though is it only says the action has no effect. It still gives upgrades effect. So if you play an armed hovercraft and I downfall protocol it back to your hand, you still get to deal 1 to my board because the upgrade effect still happens with the downfall protocol. It's just actions that pretty much get negated. This card's really interesting. I think the card's super strong. Being a blue leader pip, I think it has a hard time fitting in a lot of decks. I think it fits pretty well in this deck, as well as the fact that you're running 4 total secret actions. It's going to be really hard for your opponent to be able to guess exactly what this card is, especially earlier in the game if your cards are already like kind of burnt through. So that is our secret actions there. We're gonna go over some more generic actions we have here. We have 2 scouting mission. Being a blue-black, being a Jazz deck, we did want to run this because it is a blue-black, which means it's a blue-white on defense. And our deck is meant to draw a lot of cards, so it's pretty free to just play this on our Orion Pax early game and draw 2. Or even just play it on like Jazz and then play an Energon Axe onto Jazz or Seed Spray. It's a very, very versatile card. A card that we're not running that's new in ATP 5 is Will of the Protocols. So I have like a kind of a small printed out copy right here. So basically what Will of the Protocols is, it's similar to this where it's a blue pip, you reveal 4 cards off the top of your deck and your opponent has to put them into 2 piles, and one pile gets trapped, the other you get to put in your hand. You get to choose which pile that is. And more importantly, it's an Autobot card. So I think if I wasn't running a Jazz list, I would be playing this in Orion Pax instead. But because I am a Jazz list, I opted to run the scouting missions over the Will of the Protocols, even though this card is really, really, really good. I could see a world where maybe I just swap these out anyway, even though I'm a Jazz list. It all kind of depends. But for now, we do have the 2 scouting missions for that reason. Alright, let's start back up. Alright, next 2 of actions we have is a new card from ATP 5, Knack. Knack is honestly one of the most incredible cards in the whole set. It's definitely the card everyone's been playing and building around early on for obvious reasons. So this used to be, so in case you don't know what Knack does, it is a black leader green and specialist green, so there's 2 green pips on it. And then when you play it, you reveal the top card of your deck, and then you get to play a card from your scrap pile that matches the battle icon of whatever card you flipped, that shares a battle icon with whatever card you flip. So if you flip a scouting mission off the top, you can play either a black or a blue battle pip card or a black-blue from your scrap pile. This card's absolutely incredible. We pretty much run the full suite on our team for the green pips. We have a specialist in Seed Spray, a leader in Jazz, and then Optimus Prime does become a leader later on. This is like the best. This is probably the best card in the list because this allows you to play cards like the chassis a lot more readily. So you're not having to like worry about like finding the chassis as often, because you can grab a Knack and potentially play it off the top. There is a lot of random chance with it though, given that we do play like a lot of blank whites, or we play some blank whites, we do play some oranges. So it isn't always the case that you're going to be able to get what the card that you need off the top with Knack. But usually if you need like a blue or black, you're going to be able to find it 75-80% of the time, which makes this card absolutely incredible. I could even see a world where I just bump this up to 3, but with all the drawing that I do and this card here, I think at 2 it's still really good. Be prepared to see a lot of Knack decks probably in November, both the one-day event and the monthly, just because this card's super exciting and a lot of people are super excited to play it. It's interesting, like I said with Optimus Prime, it forces you to build your deck in a certain way as well. So we're going to Move on from the Knacks, and then we're just gonna go over the last few one of actions. We have one Brainstorm, one Catch Off Guard, and one Espionage. Just super generic action staples. We do play the Brainstorm because we do play a ton of draw. We get to have a lot of actions in hand, and we can potentially Knack a blue off the top to play a Brainstorm from our scrap, and then get to play the 2 actions. It still is like loss of 3 cards by doing that, but it just makes the Brainstorm more readily available to you as the player. Catch Off Guard, pretty obvious. I will say in T1 there's a lot more abilities that trigger when scrapping upgrades, so this is going to become a lot more popular, I would say, and definitely something worth running. I was originally running this and Disarm, but Disarm I would probably just put in the board instead of mainboarding it, in my opinion. Anyway, that's the deck profile, guys. Tell me in the comments what you thought of it. I think this deck is absolutely fun, and it's one I'm actually considering playing for the one-day event. I have a lot of lists that I'm brewing up and trying to play test before then. It's gonna be really interesting to see. I'm really excited for it. And overall, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day, everybody. Adios.